Hi, my name is Taylor Tom, and this is my project for Professor Cruz. So first, let's talk about what prosocial guidance is. And it is the belief that any means of child guidance should focus on building up a child's self-control rather than solely focusing on a behavioral outcome. And first things first, we first must realize that it is not our job as parents, but in our case as teachers, to eliminate conflict, disappointment, and frustration from the lives of our children. But it is rather to teach our children how to appropriately deal with these situations and emotions. And we must also realize that our child's behavior is not really a reflection on us and our abilities as a parent or teacher, but a reflection of our child's choices. So I made two goals for myself. First one is I, Taylor Tom, want to get better at guiding students back to their iPads and learning while teaching virtually. So virtual learning tends to be more difficult to limit behavior. And I, Taylor Tom, want to learn a wide variety of management techniques and learn which techniques work best for certain kinds of students. So why did I choose these goals? So these are things that I think I need to work on more. While being in field, I have only been virtual. So I've only been able to see the students that are online. With that, students tend to be distracted easily and less motivated to pay attention. I want to find a way to guide students to practice participating and to pay attention and want to learn as a lot of them tend to rebel and not listen when they are online. I want to learn a wide variety of techniques that will help me in all types of teaching settings. I don't want to just learn one strategy. I want to learn different strategies and figure out which strategy works for best student. And if it doesn't work, what's the next step? So my first goal is the one about the virtual learning. How do you help with students who are learning online? And according to polleverywhere.com and behavioral management strategies during remote learning, and this was done by the Advocates of Children in New York, that article was, there are 10 ways to help promote student engagement. There are 10 things where break the ice, foster community, create individual learning plans, develop curriculum around shorter content, integrate face-to-face virtual interactions, learning by doing, add flexibility to the curriculum, provide opportunities for collaboration, communicate, and solicit feedback. So now we're going to dig into each of those 10 things and kind of talk about what they mean. So break the ice. Start the semester or school quarter with a fun activity to get to know each other so that they can make connections with each other and with you as the teacher. Foster community. You want the students to feel part of a bigger group. Implement ways to get the students involved, such as Twitter hashtag or message boards. You want to create plans that will help learn where the students are to see if they have any holes in their learning. You also want to develop a curriculum around shorter content. The students are sitting there in front of a computer screen all day. And with being at home, their environment's not structured. So there's a lot of distractions. They're exposed to a lot more things. So we need to find ways to keep their attention. And the way that they say to do this is to have your lesson shorter. Spend less time lecturing and more time having open discussion with the students. That way everyone's participating and they're engaged. Integrate face-to-face virtual interactions. If you were in person, you would still be face-to-face with your students. You would still have that one-on-one time. Still have those as in a virtual setting. They say to have those either in small groups or one-on-one sessions, even in a virtual learning, to focus on the areas that they struggle in and to build that rapport with that student. Learn by doing. Work you do virtually needs to be beyond just paper and pencil. Have students create at-home projects or do other creative things to make learning fun and effective for everyone. So make sure that you're taking time and consideration into your lessons to make sure that it is engaging and the assessments go beyond just quizzes and tests, or else you're going to lose the students. Add flexibility to the curriculum. There are many ways to make your lesson plan flexible. Let your students lead the lesson is a big one. Even letting your students express their own understanding of a lesson. Provide opportunities for collaboration. Let students work together in small groups or one-on-one in monitored breakout rooms. Students still need opportunities to learn from each other. Communicate. Talk with your students. Set expectations. Also give them the opportunity to communicate with you and their fellow peers. And then feedback. Make sure that all the feedback that you give to your students is effective and encourage them to try harder and drive them to continue working hard. Also ask the students what they think. Is there something they want to do? Is there something they want to do differently? By giving the students the opportunity to be in charge of their own learning, you're able to push themselves to do just that. So my personal idea. For Dr. Radican's class last semester, we had to make a Bitmoji classroom. It was my first time ever making one, and I had so much fun. It was probably one of my favorite things I've ever done in college. Um, and I kind of went above and beyond. I made it very, very fancy. um, and I loved it. Every part of it I loved. And I use it for everything. I used it for my Turk tutoring this semester. All of our assignments were every lesson plan that I did with them was in that Bitmoji classroom. So they were able to go and click on it later if they wanted to. And I also use it for when I'm teaching. So, like this semester, when I taught my single lessons or my unit, and a student got done early, I would tell them to go onto the Bitmoji classroom and work on that while other people are getting their stuff done. This is just a way to like control the students and make sure everyone's staying engaged, staying in front of their computer screens. And that way they also have something to do that's also involves them with learning. So if you're working on math, you can have them on the math page for Bitmoji. So they're still able to learn from that. Goal number 2, behavior management strategies. So according to umchs.com, there are some pro-social guidance strategies that will help students in their classroom. Set goals and expectations for your students. Value mistakes as learning opportunities. Redirect children prior to a behavior. Listen and respond to children when discussing their thoughts and feelings. Reinforce positive behaviors. Provide opportunities for students to develop social skills and life skills. And build positive relationships. Teach children to peacefully resolve conflicts. So the Letter Classroom is a YouTube channel where this teacher just all she does is talk about her students and things that she does in her classroom that she thinks works. She's a wonderful lady, and you can see her love for teaching just within her videos. But she talks a lot about different strategies that work in her personal classroom and gives advice on what works and what does not. And some of these ideas are listed. So she said, set routines and have a structured classroom. But having the children know what's going on throughout the day helps them be able to prepare. Children do not just know what is expected of them. We have to remember that they are kids and have to realize maybe that we taught them something wrong, or maybe they just did not know exactly what to do in a situation. So be reasonable, kind of. Have reasonable expectations for your students. Make sure they know the expectations and give them examples on how to reach them. You can't just expect them to figure it out on their own. Create a behavior wheel to help with tattletaling and to help with some behaviors. If students are in a conflict, have them spin the wheel, and then maybe that can be how they solve that conflict. An example of on the wheel was write a letter about it, or put it on a sticky note and put it on the teacher's desk, or ask the teacher to have a one-on-one talk at a later time, just so that way you can get your stuff done and you're not worried about children coming up to you every 10 seconds wanting to tattletale one of their friends. Have positive awards and appropriate consequences. So you don't want to just be handing out awards left and right. They have to earn them. And your consequences should not be timeout and being sent to the principal's office where they're away from their learning and away from their desk. Make sure whatever their consequence is, it's appropriate and they're still learning in the process. Monthly behavior chart for the classroom as a whole. So everybody is relying on one another. So she has individual behavior charts, but she also has behavior chart for the whole classroom. So that way they all have to rely on each other to behave well. Okay, so my personal idea. So for Dr. Cummins' class last semester, we had to do a mood meter app. And that was where you went in, depending on the day and the time, you set your feelings and explain why you feel that way. I loved it. I almost used it every single day. I really enjoyed it. And I think it would be a great thing to use in a classroom. So like a mood meter chart, maybe on their locker or somewhere in the classroom. That way every student has one, maybe whether it's in their desk or on top of their locker or on top of their desk. And they would go and put how they feel throughout the day. This shows the teacher how they started their day and how they ended it. It might help the teacher notice some signs about why the child is having behaviors that day. So if the child is going into class in the morning, super upset, super mad, having behaviors left and right, and that happens every single Monday and Friday. Maybe Mondays and Fridays are the day that he goes with his dad or with his mom. And then the teacher can be like, okay, so on Mondays and Fridays, we have to figure out a transition because he's leaving his mom's house or his dad's house, and he needs a good transition back into school and back into the week. Another idea is a behavior chart for students to use themselves. The chart can change themes depending on the theme of the classroom. So for example, if your classroom is sports theme, then you have a baseball field, and every student has a has a baseball with their name on it. And if they behave well throughout the day, they get to move their baseball to first, then second, then third base. And if they make it to home, they get an incentive. But if they misbehave, they have to move back their baseball up to the last spot or to home plate. This is a great way to get students to help themselves be responsible and work towards an incentive. And then those are my references. Awesome. Thank you.